Hey, you. Welcome to the What Reading Book Podcast, the no boring zone where we get you all excited about books that are worth reading.
On the What Reading Podcast, you get some unbiased take on books, juicy scoops of what runs through the minds of your favorite author. You can call us your virtual book connoisseurs that help you filter through the many books out there and let you know the ones worth reading.
On this podcast, we talk about different book genre. We do not discriminate, from fiction to non-fiction, poetry, biographies, memoirs, you name it, so long as it is written by an author of African descent and project our very own authentic African stories. You can count us in. So welcome on board and thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Hi Seyi.
Hi Tobi.
It's so lovely to have you here in person.
Yay!
Do you have to respond that way, really?
It's a timeless reaction.
Okay, let's declare to everyone
Obio is
that
back.
this is like the second time I'm meeting Seyi in person, for real, guys.
Not the second time. In totality,
Officially.
that's like 4 times now.
No, but I've only met Seyi once, and that was even before the whole idea of this podcast started, right?
Yeah.
And then it's so amazing how much magic you can perform via the virtual world and connection you can make with people.
As a bad guy that I am.
What are you feeling like? I beg you, you're off the market. Please focus. Leave those of us that are still in the market.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Hi, everyone.
Market, you can hear.
You know, mad.
Market,
You can hear. Okay. So our audience at the market, right? Hello, everyone. It's so lovely to be here and to be doing this face to face and
Hi
in person.
guys, hi boys and girls.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
learners, everybody here and there.
Yeah, and welcome to yet another new episode of the What's Reading Podcast. My name is Tobi and Seyi, and with me here is...
My name is Sefi Atta.
Oh, God. What time do I look for my own Noriki too like this? Should I have Adejoke or is there Anyike or which one?
Well, you guys heard it. So if you have the Rickies for Adejoke,
My head is swelling.
you can start reading it out for Tobi, but my name always remains Sefi Atta.
I had the Adebi too now, I beg.
Okay. If you know, you know.
Okay. And it's lovely to be here with you in person once again. What are we doing on this episode?
We're reviewing a very interesting book. It's a book that I read not less than 10 years ago. And one book that's, well, I know that the cover art as at that time was what really captivated me. But I know that across many other reprints, they've changed it. Maybe it was also some proprietary reasons, but it was a book that was set, a while back that just touched on the political situation in Nigeria at the time. Not at the time, but just a backdrop of political situation and then just the general socioeconomic realities that certain families faced across different timelines. Yeah,
but before we let the cat out of the bag, I think it's worthwhile to mention that there's nothing new under the sun. And the beautiful thing about this book is that it's still very much relevant to what's happening around us in this age and time.
Very, very relevant.
Yeah.
Very, very relevant.
And without further ado, our book in focus is
Everything Good Will Come by Sefi.
That's Seyi's favorite book of all time, anyways.
It's my favorite book.
Before which took over?
Until I met another favorite book. I won't mention the name of that.
We know. Those that have been listening to this.
And then I met another favorite book. So
Seyi, you're not loyal. I don't understand.
No, the funny thing is I'm actually loyal to 2 authors now. So
mention their names.
The 2 other favorite books are by one author. So I'm loyal to Sefi Atta. I've read a couple of her books. I read Swallow before they made the adaptation on Netflix. And then I have the Beat Collector. And then I have 2 other books that she has published.
There's News from Home, and there's also a Bit of Difference.
I've read a Bit of Difference as well. So yeah, I'm quite loyal. I'm sure if Sefi Atta hears how many of her books I've read, she'll be proud of me.
Oh, well, yeah. Speaking of Sefi Atta, she's such an amazing woman. We would have loved to have her on this particular episode, but we just think it's best to just discuss her book all by itself without actually getting her to, delve into this conversation.
If I have her here, I'll likely be very shy. So.
Shy?
So I'd rather just discuss it in our absence. So I think that works better because I think for Everything Good Will Come, the first first thing that struck me about that book was the Lagos shoreline that the cover had at the time.
Yeah.
It's a
But I
pity that it's
think
no
the new
longer.
cover is prettier. I love that it's a woman and it's sort of like making allusion to the main character in it all.
Nothing beats the first cover. Nothing.
It's too German for my own opinion.
I can pay maybe ₦1 million to get a copy of that book. I bought it when I was in university, and the way things work there, and you borrow someone and they never return it back, and it still hurts me to today that I don't have that copy.
Unfortunately,
anymore. But
I read that copy with the one with that cover. I think I was in secondary school. Yeah,
secondary school.
Whatever.
Life is
What I actually like me to say, but Leo. Anyways, Everything Good Will Come is one book with a very captivating title. For me, I feel that it's one of those phrases people are quick to allude to. It sounds almost scriptural, biblical.
Yeah, I actually use that.
Yeah, everything good will come.
So at some point in my life, I listened to Steve Jobs' speech.
Which one?
I think that was at the Harvard commencement. That must have been sometime in 2011, and where he said, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." And so I did something very interesting. I connotated it, and so I would say, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." Ellipsis. Everything good will come. So I
aspire to Maguire.
You understand? So in the days of BBM, that used to be my BBM status, and then for a long time, everybody just knew me as the everything good will come guy. So still.
Did you pay money to Sefi Atta? I'm sure she must have.
I bought the
trademark
book, so
that was
I bought the book, so I also own the rights to the use of that term as well.
People.
So yeah,
you now add your phone trees. It's the same people that usually sign off with one of those interesting quotes that they do not own in their emails. So you're one of them. Okay. I'm dissing you.
So it's a combined code, so nobody owns the rights to it anymore.
Yeah, but aside from a book, I think one other book in recent time that has such captivating title, in my own opinion, is Damilare Kuku's book. It's one that would always elicit that conversation, and it's so profound. It would definitely make you feel like, what kind of thing is going on here? What is it about this book? And Everything Good Will Come just elicits a lot of hope for me. And it was one of the things that sort of drew me to the book in the first instance. So, interesting characterization, right? Do you agree?
Yes, and I must say that one thing I find quite amusing about the characterization many years down the line is in the book we have Enito and Niyi as husband and wife, and in real life I have two friends. Shout out to Enito and Niyi.
Are they listening?
Married with two children.
You had better tag them on this episode.
Whenever I read the book, I always remember that, thankfully their realities are different from what occurred in the book.
I didn't even wish that for my worst enemy. God.
Yes, I have an Enito and Niyi that are my very good friends. In fact, Niyi's birthday was 2 days ago, so very, very interesting that we are recording this about this time. And one thing that I find very, very interesting about Everything Good Will Come is the various themes that she touched on. She touched on, the family structure at the time, how many men, talk about, women, trying to give women a lot of independence, but never really meaning it. So her father, for instance, spoke a whole lot about why she really didn't need to be in the kitchen as a young girl and just, find independence as a woman, because he didn't expect that she would grow up into a woman that, relied on a man or just dependent on feeding the family. But eventually,
if you are listening, pray and tell your God or your head that you never encounter a man like me. Say amen. Because I was having a conversation with someone in recent time, and I feel ordinarily as a woman who has come into her own and is very much self-aware, it's just it's self-sabotage when you try to play down on who you are, what you actually stand for, your ambitions, and try to fit in because the society expects me to be a wife. I need to soothe the man's ego and all of that. And in an age and time when conversations around feminism wasn't really at the forefront, I love that someone like Sefi Atta was super bold enough to talk about it. And interestingly, she's happily married. She's based in Canada and all of that. And it just goes to show you that you can actually combine your belief in self-awareness, your belief in empowering women and allowing women to be their absolute best and still have a thriving family and, a supportive spouse as well. But men like that are very hard to come by anyways. And so please don't cower women and don't even think of, settling.
I think it's always a very interesting conversation to have about the role of the man as well as the role of the woman. On many episodes, we've discussed how society has come to shape the role of the woman, and how society sort of just places an expectation on either of the gender. So there are men that grew up seeing their father as the sole provider and seeing their mother as part of the dependents. So what that meant was the father was the one that went out every day and came back at night, and everyone says that is back.
Yeah.
And the mother was always
hello,
there. So
mommy too went out this time and she's back. Say hi to her, fam.
Yeah, I think for some of those families, mommy went out later, came back earlier.
Yeah.
And mommy was the one that always came for visiting days, that followed them for prize giving days, that went for PTA meetings, and daddy was hardly ever around. Either daddy was out in Abuja or some other state chasing a contract or just getting busy. But the reality of the family dynamics we have now is mommy and daddy live home at the same time.
Yes.
Sometimes mommy lives earlier.
Yeah.
And shout out to tech bros, that is actually at home, mommy goes out.
Interesting.
So what that means is that the conversation continues to change. So the difference is you no longer have the daddy that is calling on his way home and saying, "Oh,
what did you
have the mommy that is asking and saying that, you have
my daddy will just vex and say, no, this is not your teacher, and they'll pack the food and say, oh boy, finish the food. So I made it with love.
You have the daddy that is asking that, should I bring the okra from the fridge or should I bring the wedu out of the fridge?
Oh shit.
but I think that so that we don't reduce this gender roles basically to just domestic activities. I think that the role of balance in the family has become very, very important. Because we know that there are two people that make up the unit for a start, and depending on when children start to come, there's always that conversation on what the expectations are. There are some families that the mother would always say, your money is our money, my money is my money. And from those things, that's where the conversation should also start. So for many men, when you take out being the provider, they literally just lose their sense of self as a man, sense of worth as a man. And until we start to have those conversations, then we're really not scratching the surface yet.
Interesting take. Thank you so much for sharing. I mean, you've raised so many interesting topics, and honestly, I love our generation. I think I had mentioned on another conversation how I love how we enjoy the luxury of having words or terms to describe some of these things that we hardly used to talk about in the past. I mean, I was talking about how people go through issues that are aligned with their mental health, and then they just know they are feeling a particular kind of way a few decades ago, and then now we know that there's actually something like PTSD, there's actually something like anxiety, and it's also the same way that I love that there's a term to describe all of those things, that they're actually gender roles, and those conversations need to be hard. I love how our generation, when people go on dates in this age and time and they're sitting at the table and they're like, dude, so what do you bring to the table? And it's not like the woman is trying to pray. It's not like the woman is trying to play, Queen, Miss Perfect and all of that. Okay. Oh boy, so what makes you think,
I'm not sure that conversation is has been fully had in Nigeria.
Oh well, a woman who knows herself, who knows what she's going for, and is pretty much strategic and doesn't want to fall prey to men like me, you should know how to, navigate and, have those conversations. And I guess it also takes experiencing the other side of these things for you to come to that place of reawakening. For me, and personally, I feel that, I found myself on the other side of the extreme where I just felt like, oh, well, the word says you're a bit too much, and they're like, I think I've had a guy before who told me outrightly that she doesn't look like she can cook. I'm like, well, should I have a friend that would always tell me that, there are some ladies that you can almost tell what their culinary skills would look like in the kitchen and all of that. And again, I'm like, see, those are secondary things. Those are not even conversations that should be hard. And I really love that we're coming into that age and coming to that place where people are a bit more aware. And I must admit that sometimes these things are easier said than done. And shout out to women who are predecessors and have sort of like trailed the blaze for us to, enjoy this luxury of being able to, say, you know what, no, these things are not right. These things need to be questioned. This culture just isn't making sense or adding up. Why would a man come back at 10 p.m. and we're saying, oh, pounded yam is what I feel like eating. I want French soup or I want fresh mango juice, Yeah,
I think that throws into the conversation the character Sherry in the book.
Yeah, I love her to death.
The circumstances that directed the course of her life, the rape incident that she had, the abortion attempt, and then even beginning to live a life that relied on a brigadier. And so what that meant was, thankfully, Eniton was able to help us start to see another life where, you know how to cook, you know how to organize things. How about starting a catering business? And that, began to help her, form some sort of financial or economic independence. So I think that one thing that is very, very important to consider is, there are women that already have a great sense of self-awareness, but it's always good not to live in isolation. It's always good to look out for other women that are sometimes close to you, but are lost in certain other realities or certain other worlds. And all that they need is someone to just show them a means of escape. There's always a circle of concern. There'll always be a window of escape for them. So show them that window of escape and see how you can, raise women.
When it comes to this conversation of showing women, I belong to this school of thought that, you can only take your horse to the river. You can't force it to drink.
No one asks you to force it to drink.
And the funny thing is that half the time, most of the women in that particular situation know what to do. They probably have alternatives, but it's the first question that often comes to mind is like, so what would the society say? What would my family say? I know my ultimate prayer oftentimes is always like, may we not find ourselves in such compromising and difficult situation where we have to make tough decision. But
I think that there's always a force of the will, right? The force of the will is always, at the end of the day, when the force of the will arises, it's always a greater force. So they've never been at that point where the force of the will has risen to take them out of it. But not to sound very distant from all of these realities. I know that, yes, it's good to focus on even the women, but there are also men that are in very, very interesting situations. I always try to strike a balance. And one of the things that I realized even from the book is some of the things that began to push Sonny, who is Eniton's dad, into out of the house, out of the reality of his family. And sadly for Eniton, she realized much later in life that she really even had a brother that was born.
Babo.
I think one very subtle theme that the book talks about is the role of religion. So, and how our mom started to become more of a fanatic, going for prayers, and
why is it always the woman that turns to religion as a means of succor or something?
I'd rather you answer that question.
No, like, we're having a conversation here. You don't even start with me. And I honestly feel that women make up the largest statistics or demographic of people that go to church, are a bit more spiritually inclined.
So not just church?
Oh, yeah, generally. And I honestly feel that
across both Christianity, Islam, and even traditional religions.
Yeah, now woman, you go to see the branch for Baba outside and they say, Baba, for many, whatever. But I mean, I really feel that an average man is a bit more pragmatic and logical in the way they approach some of these things, and a woman would rather resort to faith and religion as a means of escape. Why do you keep saying her?
Because I agree with you. The average man can be very logical. The average man can be less emotional. It doesn't mean that they are not emotional men, but I think that I'm a Christian, right? And I know that sometimes religion rides on emotion sometimes.
Let's take a few steps backwards. I feel our society also puts that burden on a woman to be the one on the religious side of life than anything else. You see a man, and the first thing they will tell you is that, oh, I want a very God-fearing woman, and she must be prayerful. I'm like, you cannot pray.
Same way women also look for God-fearing men.
No,
that are prayerful.
you know when an average woman tells you, oh, she's looking for a God-fearing man, she still wants a tint of.
I think that I think that in fairness to women, right? If you study the Bible, for instance, you realize that the way and manner in which women are characterized in the Bible, it shows we see stories of a lot of women that are in dire situations, and that required intervention by different either prophets or kings or judges or whatever. So I think that depiction has also found its way into churches and then into the hearts of people. So you see the story of Samuel's mother, how she
Hannah. I was going to raise that question around how so when she was always at the temple and petitioning God concerning giving her a son, blah blah blah, where was her husband, please?
Well, you can't blame her husband. Her husband already had children.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, he already had children. So while she was looking for her first child, he already had his own children from another woman. So, and then, but what I would say, this is not a Bible session, but when you look at the Bible, talks about the widow of this, the Shulamite woman, this woman. So, it already paints a picture of, the women always having to, go after a religious head, go after the Messiah.
I've actually heard quotes or even come across books around God is not a feminist, and I'm like, okay, I love to engage, or I don't remove my head or my sense of curiosity when I approach the things of God or the scripture, and there are conversations where I'm like, God, taba devil in you, when we get there we have to trash these things out, because it's not adding up. Can you hear me? Like, God, this be fair.
Anyways,
okay, back to the conversation.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think that before we just stay on course with everything good will come, one thing I must mention is how that book remained one of the leading lights for me from African writers, and because of Everything Good Will Come. Before Everything Good Will Come, I'd read a couple of though. I think that Popular Hibiscus was way many years earlier, and there were a couple of other titles that I love to hold on to. There was Yellow by Ken Hagari.
Yeah, where is Ken Hagari, guys?
There was Yellow by Ken Hagari. There was Judibia.
Yeah, Judibia, Walking with Shadows.
Yeah,
so wrote Blackbird as well. I remember during our OAU days, there were a couple of book reading sessions that were put together.
Yeah, so there was Judibia, there was El Nukoya,
Nine Lives. Yeah,
and I think that at that time those were a different generation
foremost
of
contemporary voices in the literary circle, right?
African writers, was proud to know that they were Nigerians, but more importantly, they also sort of birthed a new movement of African writers that the younger authors can become proud of, and just serve as a bedrock for them. I know that I think Judibia won the NLNG Prize for Literature at some point, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I'm not very sure about that, but I think.
How come we're forgetting Igoni Barrett? Do you know the guy? His most recent work is Black Ass, but before then he had written Love is Blind, or I've forgotten the title of, or Love is something, or something like that. That's the title of the book. Yeah, but Igoni Barrett is also one hell of a foremost African writer whose contemporary work used to be those things that fed my excitement and enthusiasm towards, this
so I know
space.
there were a couple of them that, that really, really wrote stuff. They were quite young, they were, fearless. They wrote things that talked about the political situation at that time. A lot of, satires were written, a lot of very, very interesting works of poetry, works of prose, and the literary scene was literally bubbling at the time. But I think that, if one looks at, the African space, there are also a lot of writers that are coming out from across some other countries. Even in Nigeria, for instance, so it's not just the southern writers. There's Season of Crimson Blossoms, for instance, that was written in 2000. That was written in I think 2016 thereabouts. He also is an award-winning writer, and I think that generally one would say that writing in Nigeria has really come of age. Yes, there were the real flag bearers. There were the Chinua Achebes, there were the Wole Soyinkas, and the likes. And now we have a lot more contemporary, younger writers, relatable writers, such that you start to see a lot more contemporary things, like people talking about tweets in the book, people talking about having a
what
Spotify,
a time to be alive,
having
guys.
a Spotify playlist, listening to a playlist, or checking
the Broken People's playlist felt so good.
Exactly, or sliding into an Instagram DM, and so I know that the role of literature also has to be relatable to the times. I'm sure that very soon we'll start to have people writing about artificial intelligence and things like that. So so it's very interesting, and I think that shout out to Sefi Atta, one of those that really shone a very, very bright light on literary scene in Nigeria, and I'm hopeful that we get to see a lot more works from her still. I hope that she's not
retiring anytime soon, right?
Retiring anytime soon.
I can definitely assure you that something new is going to be coming from her producing. I think once you're a writer, you never retire. There's always something to talk about or to allude to. But one of our all-time best performing books across most of that I'm aware of course, is Everything Good Will Come. And it's one book that if you're new into the African literary space or scene, it's one of those books that maybe after mentioning like books by Chimamanda, you definitely want to add, Sefi Atta. And I honestly sometimes feel that a lot of people don't even give her as much flowers as she truly deserves, to be honest. Let's talk a bit more about Niyi. I usually don't like to spare my breath on men like that, but maybe we can just get into the mind of a character like that. What do you think?
I think that the world deserves fewer knees.
Oh God. Repeat it, please. Say it again.
Or rather, the world needs fewer knees.
Oh gosh, that was so gratifying. It was so good to hear that from a man. And when you oftentimes feed your mind with stories or tales of men like that, it just makes you almost give up on humanity, on this whole idea of even partnering with someone of the opposite sex, or all of that. And it's rather disturbing that you would know someone. I mean, any talk came fully made, like in my own opinion, like she was already giving all those vibes even from the onset and all of that, and yet you decide that the best way to go about things is to try to cover her and all of that. And I honestly do not want to reduce Everything Good Will Come to just merely those two. Because I mean, there are so many other exciting bits and pieces about it. I really think it's worthwhile to take a minute to appreciate such fine depth and beautiful writing. Like Everything Good Will Come is literature at its finest, African literature at its finest. There are some of our contemporary writers that I read and I'm still like, still not giving what it's supposed to give in comparison to what I loved about literature. But talk about Everything Good Will Come and you would be able to simmer the words. It doesn't tell, it shows you, and it literally just transports you to that environment or that particular setting. And I honestly feel that's the hallmark of a fantastic writer. And I think it was an excerpt of the author Yagas's interview that I stumbled on socials a couple of weeks ago that was talking about how you can almost tell who a born storyteller and who a born writer is, and someone who is just aspiring. And it's how you're able to help your readers feel the emotion, and you literally transport them into that particular space and headspace that your heart that really makes you really amazing and fantastic. And so if you're looking out for a book that treats you to that kind of fine language image that is rich, that just helps you visualize. Like, see the way I'm you almost feel like I'm obsessed, right? Sorry, guys.
It was very good depiction that Sefi worked with.
The imagery.
I literally remember the name of their daughter many years down the line because I literally remember Yimika's name. And that's many years down the line. And I think that so not just everything good will come. Even Book Swallow, which was adapted into a movie, it's a Netflix original.
Do you think that Netflix original really did justice to it? I think that's another conversation
entirely. But I think that that just demonstrated the quality that Sefi has and how it continues to shine through. I'm hoping that one day I would get to have the original copy autographed by her sometime soon.
Sorry, not the original copy. Because that copy you were actually making reference to and you adore so much is the imprint from Kachifo, Farafina, and she's long moved past that. But yeah.
I'm sure she still has some in her store, so I'll make do with that.
Hello, hopeful. Okay, Seyi, so on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate Everything Good Will Come? I can almost guess, right? But
no, you can't guess. 11.5 actually.
Why that? You cannot even pretend or be an OAU lecturer. It's for the gods.
It's not everything good will come.
Well,
everything good came for the book. So.
Wow, amazing. Well,
and everything good is still coming for the book. So
I think it deserves the over the chart or over the roof rating. To be honest, I absolutely love the book. It's one book that when you're just bored or tired of all the, I don't want to use the word basic stuff that are out there these days.
You can use the word lazy writing, but
wow, thank you for that. I'll borrow lazy writing. I think that's still a very nice and quote way of putting it. If you really want something that takes you back to what literature or African literature used to be known for, that rich description and showing and not telling feel in books, I would definitely give it to Everything Good Will Come by Sefi Atta. And so for me, it's going to be a 9.5 over 10. That 5 is for reasons best known to me.
You can keep it now.
Well, thank you.
Like the president-elect said, the 5 is it forever.
I don't know what you're talking about, please. I'm not here, please. Anyways, it's really been exciting talking about this. I cannot say so much as to where you can keep copies of a book. But last I checked, copies are only available on Amazon, US and Canada.
I bought another copy on Apple Books. So if you have an Apple device,
into ebooks,
or
then
look for
Kindle.
A major ebook platform. I'm sure you want to get
and then in Nigeria, it's currently out of print, but I believe that in a couple of months from now, it should be back in stock. So
that'll be good to see.
Yeah. Exciting, Seyi. It's really lovely doing this in person with you. It's a totally different feel, and I think we should do this more often. What do you think?
I'm a bad guy now. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, Tobi, for this interesting session. And what better book to review? In
person.
Yeah, than a book that...
One of your favorite books of all time.
So, I like to play around with, so no pun intended this time around, but it says Everything Good Will Come. So, and even for the Worth Reading podcast, it's interesting to hope that, everything good continues to come.
Yeah.
For everyone that has listened to some of the previous episodes, the very, very early beginnings.
Thank you for sticking with us.
I wanted to say humble beginnings, but I don't know if I'm still humble, but thank you very much, and we hope that on this new season you would have very, very interesting times listening to us, and we hope that we can thrill you, wow you, and lead you to books that you've never heard of. And interestingly, we're not just focused on Nigerian authors this time around. We're going across the continent, first across Nigeria and then across the continent.
Other parts of Africa.
Parts of Africa. And so watch out for some of the authors we're going to discuss. Ghanaian authors, Kenyan authors, even North African authors as well. I'm sure we'll get a very good balance from us this time around. I'm looking forward to a thrilling journey across Mother Africa and getting to know what makes our literature
beautiful and worth reading, definitely. So on that note, guys, have a wonderful time wherever you are in any part of the world. Thank you guys for listening.